Inner Expeditions podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome back for the second edition of the Inner Expeditions podcast. Really great to have you back, and I hope you enjoyed episode 1 the other week. But super proud and very happy to announce this week that my guest will be Andre Rerekura. Andre is a freelance ocean videographer and an all-round nice guy. So I just want to start by saying thanks so much, Andre, for coming on, giving me your time. I know you're busy and you're an outdoors guy, but look, I really appreciate your time and I'm so grateful for coming on board.
Nah, thanks, Az. I'm stoked. I love what you're doing, and the last podcast was awesome. So it's really inspiring.
Cool. So I guess to start with, for people that are either seen Andre, want to know what he's about, we're just going to sort of start off by saying, getting into what drew you to the ocean, where you found yourself. Was it something as a child or as a kid, just hanging out in the sea, and what it is that just grabbed you and sort of led you to wanting to be out there?
Yeah, for sure. Suppose it started where I grew up in Port Macquarie. It's like a small town on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, and it's right on the beach, and it's such a beautiful place. And I just spent most of my childhood on the beach, growing up next to the ocean. Started surfing and just pretty much living in the sea every day. So it's just found a massive passion and loved it.
Yeah, because it seems that you're just an all-round waterman, whether it's surfing or free diving, you name it. You're just involved with it in every way almost.
Yeah, I suppose the more you are sort of next to the ocean or in the ocean, you just seem to it just keeps growing on you, really. Like, without even realizing it as a kid, I suppose you live next to the beach, you're there every day, it's kind of normal. But as you get older, you realize it's like just a massive part of your life and you're just drawn to it. I think a lot of people are naturally drawn to the ocean without even knowing it, actually.
Yeah, and I think it can be that draw to nature that you love. It's, there's something about it's just soothing. Some people it might be, forests and mountains, and other people it's the ocean. But I guess that would come back to where you spend your childhood and what you're exposed to. But yeah, it just seems to be one of those things that's calming and soothing. And so many people I know that are drawn to their working with nature. It's just that primal sort of grab that really gets you in.
Yeah, big time. I think it just slows you down. You don't even have a choice. You could be at home, you're doing your day-to-day thing, or in the traffic, everything's so fast-paced, and then as soon as you hit the ocean or the forest or nature, you just slow down instantly. It's sort of like it makes you slow down.
Yeah, it just seems to fade off, and I think I've even read before, like there's stories where people talk about even just having a natural-based screensaver on your computer, or like some nice pictures in your house, like just taking a second to stop and look at those things can just instantly take stress away. It's pretty amazing.
That's really cool.
Cool. Well, I think going from that, leading into where that led you next. So as a young guy, just loving being on the water, it probably led you into a bit of a career path, which kept you in that game.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in this small town. Right on the beach, beautiful, amazing. You go to school. You're at school and you're learning things and trying to figure out what you want to do in life and what you like. And I used to love like woodwork, so I started going down that area and started doing cabinet making, doing kitchen work. And then I sort of realized that I loved it, but I liked it when it was a hobby. And then I like cooking, so I started working at a bakery. I worked at some restaurants and started getting into cooking. But then I realized you lost a lot of lifestyle, and all your friends are out having fun and you're cooking in the kitchen, and then kind of started to realize, like, I knew I loved the ocean, and I was like, all right, I've got to try and find something that involves the ocean. So I did my skipper's ticket, my coxswains when I was young, and just approached some boats in town and started doing some commercial crayfishing out of town. And I was like on the ocean every day, learning heaps of stuff, and I loved it. And that was when it sort of clicked, like, just something that you love doing, just go for it. And it's just that put me on a track, and I ran with it.
Yeah, it's funny because when you say like you think you might love something and you want to do it, and then when you actually start doing it for a living, it takes away from the enjoyment side of it. The fact that it's almost like a chore because now you have to do it. Where when you find that one thing that you can do it for a living and it doesn't feel like a chore, I mean that's just such an incredible um, thing to have and a
Yeah,
gift to give yourself, I suppose, to be able to do that. Yeah,
super
it's pretty
lucky
special.
for sure. It's it's gonna happen all your life. You're gonna, you know, love things and try them out and do them, and then you might find out that it's you love something else. It's just gonna keep changing. You just keep going with it. You just keep doing what you love because it takes you on these pathways and you learn new things and the people you meet in those areas, and then it makes you want something else or dream of something else, and you just keep taking on this roller coaster. It's a good journey.
Yeah, and it's nice to have that progression that you can keep learning new things, and you can delve deeper into what you love. And there's always like a new challenge or something new that you can get out of it, or something on the horizon to aim for as you learn and you expand your knowledge base.
Yeah,
It just drives you to go further and deeper into it. I suppose
yeah,
it's
for
pretty
sure.
amazing.
Yeah, big time.
Yep. So cray fishing, um, that's where it really clicked and made sense for you that that's what you wanted to do. How then did you decide where you would go next with that? Like, what was the progression, knowing that that's what you loved? Yeah, okay, this is me.
hmm
Where did that then lead to, like, your next project or your next
So it
venture?
was probably again like following stuff that I love, and being on the ocean in my hometown in winter was like quite cold. And then I was kind of like, I was still young and I was like, I really want to follow summer. So I ended up looking for jobs further up the coast. And there was a job on a pearl farm up the top of Cape York off Sciatia in the middle of nowhere, crocodiles, everything. It was crazy. And I was like, I'm going for it. I don't know, I can't even remember how I had the connection, but there was a job up there as a skipper. And yeah, I left home and I went up to this place in the middle of nowhere. Like I landed, went to Cairns, jumped on a small plane, had this crazy little plane ride up to the top of Cape York where there was literally so much like turbulence. I was like holding the roof. There was like 5 grown men in there just like packing it, eh? And I just remember looking around going, this is crazy, holding the roof, like this hell turbulence. And yeah, landing in this small like little town with coconut trees and sort of just like bit deserty and these giant termite mounds, and it was super hot. And yeah, I was waiting at the airport and I was didn't even know who I was meant to meet, and there was no one there, and I just sort of like waited, and everyone left, and it was only like a handful of people there anyway. And then this rusty troopy pulled up with this tinny on the back, and I was like, "What? This must be it." And he's like, "Hey mate, how you going?" And we've got to wait for the tide to come up before we can get out there. And I was just like, "This is crazy." And yeah, we waited for the tide to come up. We went through this labyrinth of like mangroves and tiny like estuary systems, and we popped out at this island out in the middle of nowhere. And that's where I started like, yeah, following another dream, just sort of following summer.
Yeah, and it's funny how it just makes you do things that you probably never would have dreamed. You know, it just seemed crazy, and yet all of a sudden you've got this um, desire or this path that you want to go down, and it just pushes through those barriers, and everything comes down, and next thing you know, you're kind of getting rewarded on the other side for taking that first step.
Yeah, definitely. It's an adventure in itself. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's where yeah, some more stuff started to open up, and I ended up skippering this pearl farm boat, and I was like working with this massive Torres Strait Islander guy that was like pretty tough. And the last skipper was like actually like left the island because he had a bit of a run in with this guy and like a wrench and this. And I only found out when I landed on the island. They're just like, oh, just Bruce is like, you just got to be careful. He's kind of like a bit short fused. And I'm just like, he's 120 kilos. I'm like 60 kilos going, oh, you're kidding. But we ended up getting along. And yeah, he was an awesome guy. He taught me heaps of stuff about the land and about yeah, heap of stuff there. So that was really cool. And yeah, I started meeting like awesome crew at this pearl farm, and just started learning about other jobs and different things out in the world. And yeah, that started leading me on another track again.
Yeah, cool. So it's funny how, I think you say you can be quite relaxed and, you're such a chilled guy. I don't think I've ever seen you, peeking out about anything or you know, I think when you're submersed in nature and a good environment, you're loving what you do. I definitely seem to find that people that are doing that have this calm persona, you know, and definitely feels like it's all a lot more relaxing, and you're probably where you want to be, and overall probably that bit happier than maybe people that are doing something that they're just doing it as a job, or they're maybe somewhere that they don't want to be because they're not quite ready to let go and take
Yeah,
that step into something.
can be scary for sure. Like I've had times where I'm like, what am I doing? Like I've got nothing going. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going right now, and I haven't even got a job at the moment. Like, you know, stuff like that where you're just in these moments where you're like, oh my god. But somehow it just works out. Like you just get a thought in your brain or something that you want to do. You just keep thinking it and repeating it and just going, all right. And you just end up naturally taking this pathway, going towards it without even knowing. It's just like consciously in your mind.
It's just right there, yeah. Because I know that fear of the unknown, or the fear of being in your comfort zone, it definitely keeps you stuck sometimes, where you can feel frustrated. And
Yeah, for sure.
it's the breaking down of that and going outside that comfort zone, and expanding outside that circle. It gives you that room to grow. It's super terrifying,
Yeah.
but yet when you cross that other side, it gives you the opportunity to grow and learn, and it's super rewarding as well. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you get that? You've crossed something that's terrifying, and you really want to move on, but then on the other side, once you've done that, what sort of backing, or confirmation do you have that you've done the right thing? I guess it's just a feeling.
Yeah, it's a feeling for sure. You just sort of, it's crazy because you start doing this stuff and you're like, I thought of that like 6 months ago, and you kind of think like, how did that happen? But you just consciously going that way.
Yeah.
And then another year later, you're like, oh, I thought about this like a year ago. Now I'm doing it. And then another year, and you're like, I thought of that like a year ago, and then you're doing it. It's just crazy what, the power of thinking can really help you.
Yeah, and just putting it out there, and being, I suppose, being available, and being open for things to happen to create that opportunity. Because I know
That's the
you get
hardest
into
thing, I think.
and I know you sort of got into the commercial diving side of things, which sounds pretty insane. I mean, I remember we were talking about it years ago. You're saying you might spend a month underwater or longer in this pod with just you and another guy, and the only time you go out is to do the job and then to come back in. I mean, how do you even do that?
Well, that was that was saturation diving. I didn't actually do to that extreme. A lot of mates did.
Yeah.
I would be away for a month sometimes on a vessel, and we'd go down and dive for like up to a couple of hours to whatever, depending on our depth. And we could come up, we'll go into a chamber, we'll decompress, and then we work on the deck. But yeah, it was still, it was pretty interesting for sure.
Yeah, because you effectively, and they even teach it when you're doing like open water diving, it's problem solving while you're down there. So there's such a huge chance for things to go wrong, but not to panic, and to maintain your focus and maintain your calmness.
Yeah.
And then keep going and to see it through. It's such a huge problem solving job, and yet staying calm and focused to know that if you stick with it, that what you're doing, you're going to be okay out the other side.
Yeah, for sure. I love that sort of one like you got your own mind to think of, and there's heaps of a bit of problem solving down there, and it's in crucial moments where you've got like a massive crane with a heavy lift of like 100 ton or more, and it's just you on your own with zero visibility and fish swimming around your head and stonefish or stingray or whatever floating around. You just kind of like, and there's moments where like I've had a moment where we were tied off to a pipeline, and the supervisor's like, get it off, the boat's drifting, like hurry up, gotta get it off. And I'm just like, I'm in 30 minutes of water or whatever, like going, oh my god. And then I'm like rushing to get it off and making sure I'm not going to be in road of danger. And yeah, it worked out, but it's just like, oh, you got to be so calm, collected. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty chaotic scenes while you've got, a lifeline of oxygen coming down to you and you're breathing underwater and all of that stuff as well. It's, you got to definitely be a certain kind of person to do well in those situations and have a calm mind, I guess. It's, full credit.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
And then, so, this is going probably to, I don't know, I think I met you probably I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, maybe,
Yeah.
when you were still doing a bit of that, but you were sort of going into more along the lines of free diving, underwater photography and filming and
Yep.
stuff like that. Like how does that evolve from being what you're doing underwater commercially to then going into sort of a bit more of
Yep.
another direction?
Well, I've kind of like always loved filming as a hobby. Anything underwater really, like all the adventures that we go on, or just for friends, just to capture moments, just to like look back on it myself. And then I always loved getting like the best gear to capture that moment. So, you do all these crazy, amazing adventures around the world, or these like beautiful locations. It's like I might as well get the best gear, like to capture that, so I can just have such a awesome image of it. And that's where I started to like focus more on my camera gear and learning about filming, and just started doing this stuff, like capturing beautiful moments and sharing it with people, and they really liked it. And a few of us, a couple of mates and I, started a production company called Terra Australis, and this is while I was commercial diving as well. And we started sharing stuff on social media, and the news started picking it up, and we're doing sharks and shipwrecks, and it was all kind of like, who are these guys and what's going on? And yeah, it was really exciting. And I just started like doing tiny little jobs with it, and I kind of didn't think I'd be like a career really. I just thought it was a hobby, but it's just molded into this like really cool hobby, into like a career based kind of job really.
Yeah, and just something to think. Yeah, look, hey, look, I could probably make a little bit of money off this, and maybe look at the path of going into, doing your passion and your love as potentially is a full time income. I mean, that must have been a pretty incredible feeling once you sort of started to realize that.
Yeah, it was kind of wild. Like I still today never think about it as like, obviously I want to make money to buy food and to live, and to you know to whatever, just to live really. So I never try and look at it much as like trying to make heaps of money. But I think that's a lot of things, that like with work or a job that you love, a passion, is don't think about money, because it's just sort of like, if you love it and you put all your energy and heart into it, it'll come. Money, it just evolves into like work, or people see it and it shines and it just happens. It's just sort of like, if you focus on money too much, you can kind of
Take away from
take
that.
it
Yeah,
away.
and I definitely found that um, when people are focused on the money side of it, they have this sort of lifestyle that they envisage, where they're going to have a big house and a fancy car. Where, to do something for a living, you can as long as you can put food on the table and pay your
Yeah,
bills.
yeah,
I mean, that's covering it. Like, you're doing it
yeah,
for a living, and you can sustain it with the lifestyle that you already have.
yeah,
That's really all you need.
yeah, for sure.
Where you're not sort of driven to get 10 million followers or whatever else to sort of get that higher income.
Yeah,
You don't really need to think about that side of it. It's just how you're just sharing your passion with people,
yeah,
and it's authentic. It's genuine, and if you're putting your passion behind it 100%, it feels like you can't really kind of go wrong.
yeah, for sure. It's it all just sort of works out. Like I've heard, I can't remember who told me, but it's just like, just do what you love, be in a place that you love, and you'll just shine, and it will work out, and you'll make it work. So
Yeah,
it's like, that's what living is about, really.
yeah, and having that belief that I sort of changed careers in a similar way, where I went from working FIFO, doing mining exploration and drilling and stuff like that, where there was such a long period there where I didn't think I'd ever be able to get out of it. But I was lucky where I was running, I'd lost a heap of weight, so I was getting a newfound sort of confidence in myself, and it was just that belief that, hey, look, if I go this way, it's terrifying
Mm.
to get by on a lot lower income, but just having faith that what was on the other side, it was
Mm.
worth it.
Yeah,
So
I remember when you did that.
yeah, and
I remember it all.
it was life changing, and the support that I got from my friends once I made that step to just walk away, which ended up being quite sudden in the end, because it
Yeah,
was just getting to me too much. And I just wanted to be at home with my family and my
it's
wife and my
awesome.
two little girls. So
Yeah,
knowing once I'd made that decision, as terrifying as it was thinking about it before that, once that decision had been made, as sudden as it was, I mean, we weren't super financially prepared or anything, but
Yeah.
I just remember the weight off the shoulders and
Yeah.
that immediately when I got home and hugged my girls and we sort of discussed what was happening, I knew that I'd instantly made
Yeah.
the right decision.
That's awesome, Aaron.
Yeah.
So cool.
And I guess going from that, and we're talking about environments and being in places that inspire us. I mean, we're so lucky living where we live in Exmouth. It's kind of hard to do a podcast without speaking to people about the ocean up here.
Sure, yeah.
I'm so lucky that we've got so many incredibly experienced people to draw on as well. So, Exmouth's just this beautiful place. So much potential out in the ocean.
Big time.
And this is where you're sort of basing yourself for a majority of the time now. So tell me about your experiences here, what you love about Exmouth and what keeps you coming back and why you found your base here.
Yeah. Well, when I did that job, when I moved up to Cape York and started the pearl farm, then I got another job doing some shell harvesting stuff out of Mackay and the Barrier Reef, and I started to work pretty much all around Australia. And everywhere I kept going, everyone's like, "Oh, you're gonna love WA. You're gonna love it." So I like completely left it for last. So I explored the whole east coast of Australia, went down south through Port Lincoln, and then come to WA, and I haven't really turned back. It's just such a raw and rugged coastline. And then I came up to Exmouth probably about 12 to 13 years ago, and I just loved it. It's just got kind of everything that I love. It's raw, it's rugged, it's got an amazing sort of ocean and marine life. It ticks all the boxes really.
Yeah, and it just ticks the box in the way that you've got so many great things to get out in the water and be amongst and experience, but also you can film some of these great natural events that happen here. I mean, obviously Exmouth's famous for the whale sharks, but there's so many other great things here, and you're so lucky to be able to video it and share it with the world. I mean, because you contract and you can sell your footage to, I mean, like the BBC, I think Natural History was saying these places that'll buy your footage. So there's things that happen here that people in the world want to see, and you've got that avenue to share that and to make that happen as well, which is pretty incredible. Yeah,
super lucky. I didn't actually think of that when I came here. I just knew I loved it. It was, everything I love. So I love the ocean so much, and like the biodiversity and the marine life and the megafauna that we have here is incredible. And I did used to love filming it. I still do. And I just got noticed a bit through the natural history companies around the world of some of the stuff I was capturing, and now they're hiring me for like commissioning me for jobs to capture certain like sequences or some habits that some of the marine life have. So I've been lucky enough to be commissioned to just be out there every day and capture it. Or if I've caught stuff myself filming base wise, they'll contact me and ask me for any stock footage, and it's end up turning into like a job, and keeping me here, and it's been awesome.
No, it's pretty cool, man. It's really great for us to see as friends of you and Nush as well, your partner, just to see that you guys have got the availability and the chance to not only do what you do, but to share your knowledge and experience, and that's being recognised, because we just we see you guys as such an inspirational in what you do, and you guys got such a great knowledge base, and you're kind of that guy that we put up there with ocean experience and that knowledge. So it's really great to see you guys getting recognised and being able to do that as well. It's really cool.
It's been a good journey, and we're a good team. Nusha's like so creative. She's got an amazing eye, and like we're both really passionate about looking after the environment, and this is a way we give back. We'll capture beautiful imagery and we'll share it, and we'll just try and, hopefully inspire people like how amazing it is and how beautiful the ocean can be, and we need to look after it. It's just simple.
Yeah, because I know recently you were down in Coral Bay for a little while, and you had a team and a crew filming down there.
Yep.
What was it that you were doing down there? Like, I know there's certain things that happen along the reef. Is there something that happens in Coral Bay that's more easily accessible, or something that just happens there that you need to go down and film for?
Coral Bay is like another awesome area as well. It's super beautiful. They do have like an abundance of a lot of manta ray activity there, and they do get some like really cool bait ball activity as well that I've shot over a few years. Managed to have an amazing bait ball 3 years ago. That's when I started to run into these giant bait balls like the size of football fields of like 300 or 400 sharks. It's crazy. It's incredible. The energy there, like diving amongst that, is ridiculous. And then last year, with Nush and I and some friends also found another amazing bait ball, and that's kind of congregates and ends up being down around that area in Coral Bay. So we shot that last year and 3 years ago, and that's when BBC started to grab some of the stock footage. And yeah, just last year I had like Dave Attenborough talking over some of my footage in a series called Seven Worlds, and it was in an Australian episode, and it was trippy. I couldn't believe he was talking over it, you know.
I mean, that to know and to see that that's your footage with David Attenborough speaking on the top. I mean, how does that even?
It was weird.
How do you even factor or even process that in your mind that this is your work being narrated by David Attenborough?
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, he's an inspiring man, and he does some amazing work, and he's just got another doco out now that's it's awesome. It's crazy. It's like just highlighting a lot of stuff about the world and climate change and how we can do this. We can make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. Because I know as part of everything in Exmouth and Coral Bay and the Ningaloo Coast, obviously tourism a huge part of it, but there are industrial aspects of it that are starting to potentially come into town.
Yeah.
With your experiences being out on the ocean, spending as much time on and in the water as you do, how have you noticed the changes in environmental aspects from what you've even witnessed just by being out there on the daily?
Sure. Well, like, I used to work offshore. I used to work oil and gas, and I know we need it. Like we do. We're just so reliant on it. It's just the way society is. We've got cars. We've got a house with gas and fuel, and we do need it. But these are the areas I've worked in with that oil and gas setup. Like they're a different type of town. Like they're a work town. Everyone's there to work, and we are like stripping, a lot of, the oils and the gases and the coals and everything from our land, which is what we needed at the moment. It's just the way it is. But those areas are they're pretty well used. But you come here to Exmouth, and it's just like still so raw and rugged, and it's still so beautiful. And we have this crazy coastline of like a massive marine biodiversity. We've got these megafauna cruising up down the coast. It's super rare. Like there's not many places in the world like it. And to think about impacting the industrialization around the area just is a bit scary. Like I've seen what it can kind of change in places, in towns, not just the environmental impact, but just also the feel of the place. It just changes a bit, and I feel like we need to protect this area. And if it's going to be based around tourism, then that's fine. Like it's a better footprint than the oil and gas industry, unfortunately. But I feel like we need to cherish this place and fully look after it, because we will look back and we'll be so thankful. We will in 10 years we'll be like so glad we looked after this place. It's such a beautiful place. It's our home, or whoever lives here, and we'll just be thankful. I know we will.
And I think it's changing a lot. Even the town itself, in the time that I've been coming here, in probably nearly 20 years, Exmouth's kind of getting noticed a lot more now. With the COVID thing, we had record numbers of people coming here this year because they usually go overseas for their holidays, and they're coming up here and experiencing how great this place is. Yet at the same time, more people that come through, you're going to get more traffic.
Yeah.
You go snorkeling sometimes down in Turquoise Bay, this beautiful place, and there's people standing on the reef. So how do you keep this town going and keep the town running, but be sustainable for the future, so people can enjoy it in years to come? So the coral's still going to be alive. And everything that we're coming here to witness and experience, and the things that draw people here. How can we make sure that they're going to be able to keep doing that, 50, 100 years down the road?
I think a lot of it's education, and then also there's some stuff going on with the Parks and Wildlife called the Resilient Reef Project, and it's getting the community together and thinking of ideas. But there's some really cool stuff in there with even capping of tourists, because obviously the town can't handle it. And I've seen that in Lord Howe Island. There's only so much accommodation, and once it's full, and they can't fly over, and it's just like the perfect amount to handle the town, which should happen here as well. So once we get a certain amount of people, it's just capped, and that can hold the town. That amount of people is sustainable for the area. But yeah, definitely education and teaching the tourists how to look after it. And I feel like a lot of them do come here a bit kind of, not used to the place, and like, oh cool, like just walk around and whatever. And but by the time hopefully they leave, they've kind of like, or if they've got earlier knowledge, they can come here and be like, oh wow, this is crazy, like pristine, and let's tread carefully, and let's leave just footprints, and let's not stand on stuff like the corals, or you know.
Yeah, and have the appreciation. I mean, so many people are travellers. They're travelling around Australia or travelling around the world, and maybe have that knowledge that they think, okay, I'm in someone else's town.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter, but maybe to think on a bigger scale, to think, okay, I'm travelling around Australia. Maybe I need to have this approach and take this attitude wherever I go.
Pretty much.
Because when you're travelling, you're always going to be in someone else's town.
Yeah.
And people get quite defensive about their hometown because of what they get out of it. But they need to sort of think bigger and, okay, look, yes, I'm in someone else's town, but the whole time I'm traveling, maybe just to be a little bit more conscious about
for sure
about the footprint that I'm leaving.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty much everyone's backyard, really. Like it's all our backyard. Like it's wherever you go, it's your backyard. You should just treat it like it's your backyard.
Yeah, so you can keep enjoying it, and the things that bring you here you're gonna be able to continue to do that, into the future for your kids to enjoy and in other generations. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone's starting to learn a lot more, and I see a big change happening all the time, which is great. So it's really positive.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there's definitely a rising in recent years of just people's more of their awareness of how they are existing in the world, and how to live and to be more mindful of the I guess what they're doing and how that impacts further down the line, and that knock-on effect that it can have.
Yeah,
which is super cool. I mean, even in Exmouth now we've got the bulk food store with Jess doing great things there.
Yeah, it's great.
Reducing plastic. You can come in with your own containers.
Yeah.
Fill them up.
Yep.
And so she's got a tally on how much plastic's been saved.
That's huge.
Which is really cool, and people are really taking to that. It's quite easy for the people that live here because they know it's their backyard and they want to look after it. So many people are making that effort to reduce, not using bin bags.
Yeah.
And all of those little things are just tiny little ways you can help make a better impact.
Definitely all adds up. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even just the littlest thing, like you might feel like it's really hard to make that effort, but the smallest effort can really make that change.
Yeah.
Not just locally, but on even on a bigger scale. You think outside of our cool little town.
Sure. Yeah, no, we're all pretty conscious of it in this town, which is great. And there's so many little things. Like, I should even turn the lights off. There we go. Like just little things like that, you know?
Absolutely. I know we spoke earlier just about the experiences out on the ocean and, huge bait balls and stuff like that. How do you feel once you're out there and you're submerged in that environment? Like obviously it would have amazing effects for you for relaxing and feeling calm out there. How do you feel your presence out there is felt by the surroundings and other animals? I mean, they're if they're in a feeding frenzy or they're chasing bait, they might sort of not be that aware, but is there any point where you kind of feel like you're really at home and you're being accepted out there?
For sure. I think you just obviously respect it all. So you feel like filming wildlife, respect their space if they want to come to you, and just to be calm and relax and not chase anything really. Just sort of like, respect that animal or respect that the coral or whatever you're hanging out with, and just be calm and like let things happen. And if they happen, they happen.
Yeah, because I imagine the big challenge is to film something in its natural environment. You don't want to have this animal that you're trying to film that's being affected by you being there. You want it to feel as natural as possible. Sure. So you kind of almost want to be like a fly on the wall,
big time
kind of thing.
That's where a lot of free diving plays a really big role in that, where you're completely silent and you're kind of like one of them, I suppose. So you can, yeah, breathe up, dive down, stay relaxed, and just sit there and be completely silent. And a lot of the times, things just come up and check you out and see where you are. And if you're just moving slow and super calm, they'll hang out, and you'll see that their natural behavior.
Yeah.
It's
And
really cool.
when you're filming stuff, obviously you're down there and you're concentrating and focusing on getting shots and getting video.
Yeah.
But do you get chances when these incredible things are happening to just kind of almost stop and
Yeah.
take it in
Yeah.
and maybe turn the camera off and just say, hey, this is like a pretty cool experience I'm going through right now?
There's heaps of times where you just put the camera next, like just hold it out next to you and you just sort of like soak it up, because it's just like, this is crazy. Like, this is incredible. And you have to like, yeah, put it aside and just be like, far out. I'm so lucky. It's great.
Yeah, being amongst, the planet's doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
We're all a part of it, I
Mm.
guess not feeling like you're this apex being at the top of the chain. You're in there, you're amongst it, and you're being surrounded by it. I mean, it must just be the most humbling experience that they don't care.
Yeah.
What car you drive or what shoes you wear or
No.
where you had coffee this morning. I mean,
Yeah.
they're kind of just seeing you as another thing down there,
Another
and
thing,
yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
There was one moment like not long ago, just like last month, and yeah, we're out pretty far offshore, like a couple of miles, like 5 miles offshore, in the middle of nowhere. The water was kind of green, and I work on rebreathers as well, so I'm completely silent, and it's a system where you can it takes your own air back in, it takes out your carbon dioxide, and it injects some oxygen, and you can bring it back in, just like a reclaim system. But it's really handy for filming natural history as well, because you're completely silent and you're not so noisy. So we're out in the middle of nowhere. We're in like 80 or something meters of water, but it's kind of green day. The water visibility is probably only like 10 to 12 meters. And it was on sunset, so you had this awesome rays of light coming through the water. There was a bait ball. There's sharks feeding on it, and we're down shooting it, and I could hear was this crazy whales just moaning and groaning, and I'm like, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I'm in the middle of this ocean. I can't see the bottom. There's sharks feeding. There's bait. There's birds. There's tuna. And then these whales are just groaning so loud. I'm like, oh my God, I am so little right now. But it felt so awesome. It just like felt so raw. That was like, it made you feel so like humble. It was crazy.
Yeah, and just to feel like, hey, like I'm a part of this too. I'm not separated from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being right in there and in the mix and being a part of it, rather than sort of seeing yourself as an outsider.
For sure.
Yeah, taking a peek in.
Yeah. No, we're very lucky to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know you've done work in town and you've been here a while as your base, filming some of the awesome stuff that happens here. Where else has this sort of taken you on this new path where you're filming and sharing experiences? Like, what other areas around the world or around Australia has this been able to give you the opportunity to go to?
Yeah, for sure. So I've done some really awesome stuff over at Heron Island and Lizard Island, which is on the east coast of Australia. And the islands also like research centres. So I go, and like a lot of the natural history is revolved around research, because they know the animal's behaviour. They find some really cool traits, and I get to like get in depth and learn about whatever I'm filming, which is one of the coolest things. You learn about this animal and like what it does, and it's so surprising, from like minute shrimp to like whales. You learn all these different crazy things you wouldn't even know about, and they're all just like us. They've all got feelings, and they're on their life cycle. They're doing their thing. And yeah, we get to these crazy, most like untouched areas, because that's what we're there to film, these beautiful spots, and it's so cool. Yeah, so there's a lot of amazing stuff around Australia, but I've got to go to Heron Island and Lizard Island last year and see all this stuff.
Yeah, and I think going from, obviously, a lot of the time when you're filming, you're probably working hand in hand with experts, conservationists. So while you're filming all these amazing things happening right in front of you, you're seeing the data that they're collecting to potentially see impacts of environmental changes, which I no doubt, as an ocean lover that you are, would would affect you and think, oh man,
Yeah,
we need
for
to get out
sure.
there and help protect these things which people want to see.
Yeah, definitely. There's areas in those areas that are like super depleted. They've either been coral bleach from warming temperatures of the water, and then they're covered in algae growth after that. And there's a lot of research going on, like how to regenerate this stuff and how to look after it. And there was something really cool I seen Dave Attenborough share the other day on. He's like got his own social media now, but he was just saying how, there's climate change and we've got to try and fix it. And he just said how it goes hand in hand. You aim to help climate change by reducing our footprint in certain ways, which will help nature. And then he goes, if you help nature, it will help climate change, as it goes hand in hand. As soon as like we bring the wild back, it will start fixing climate change at the same time. So it's just like a win-win, really.
Sure. Yeah, and I guess if there's plenty of people out there, hopefully there's lots of people out there listening to this. Where are some of the places they could go to get information and data on these things happening? Like, is there any sites that you know of that you could sort of put out there for people to check out, or things to Google or to have a look at?
I suppose I've been lucky because I've just been filming stuff like that, so I get to pretty much get it straight from the horse's mouth when I'm talking to researchers, and I'm just like so intriguing, and I love it, and I'll just want to get full in depth with it. But I think like Google and YouTube is some of the best stuff ever. You can find so much information. Like if I need to know something, I'll just research the computer. It's crazy what you can find.
Yeah, I suppose because there's so many different types of conservation out there for areas all around the world. It'd be hard to narrow one down, but definitely.
But if you want to find stuff specific to yourself to like help reduce your footprint or to help with the environment, you can look it up. Just like what can a day-to-day person do to help minimize their carbon footprint or whatever they're doing. And it's just like there's a lot of it's common sense. It's like simple stuff is like turning lights off, or walking if you can walk, or minimizing your plastic usage, or even diet wise, like reducing your meat intake, just because it all like even flushing your toilet. If it's there's like saying like,
if it's yellow, let it mellow.
Yeah.
If it's brown, flush it down.
Yeah. Everything like that, it completely adds up. And it's just like it feels good to do it as well, like over time, and it's it's probably reducing your bills and everything. Like it's helping the planet, and
it's a plus.
Why not?
It's a plus in so many ways.
Yeah,
for sure. It definitely does feel good to, even however little it is, it does feel nice to know that you're contributing, or you're trying to make a less of a footprint.
Because it is consciously on most people's minds, and it's there in our face, and people think like, oh, what can I do? I can't do anything, but we can all do the smallest things. And like even just the other day, I just changed my super. It took me like literally 3 minutes on the computer, and I just Google search. I asked a question on social media, like what's a good ethical superannuation. I had so much awesome feedback.
Wow. So it can even go down that level as well, as knowing
these two superannuations invest money into greener energy and solar power and like all these different type of like really awesome ways of looking after the environment. And I feel some of my mates are like, oh look, you look after yourself sometimes, and it's your retirement. And then like some awesome comments were like, well, what's the use of having a retirement if it's not even going to be a nice planet? And some of them were like, in my mind, I was like, mate, if we invest into green energy stuff like this, which is going to take off over time, like it's all evolving, it's going to be a better investment anyway. And I had some good feedback on that as well.
Yeah, and I kind of think that with anything like that, if bigger companies are looking down those avenues, then it's already happening, and it's already worth doing. Like there's a market there for it. Like with a lot of companies doing plant-based burgers and a whole heap of that sort of food. If there's a market for it now, and these bigger companies are looking into it, then it's worth looking into. There's a demand for it, and it's what people want, which is a really great shift. And I've been super impressed with a lot of like the next generation coming through, being super aware of it and just asking more for that, because they're the ones taking over. So it's been incredible to see they're really putting pressure on people higher up to do more, because that's what they want, and there's this incredible shift
Yep.
into that, and they're just not afraid to ask the question.
Yeah, well, it's smart for those big companies to go that way, because otherwise, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
If everything goes towards greener energy and looking after the environment, if they don't jump on the wagon, it could be too late for them. So that's a smart move to like, all right, we've got to go down this track. This is where it's going. Let's run with it. And they could be the leading companies, and they're going to be happy.
Yeah, and people are investing in it, so there is money to be made out of it because there's a market for it.
Yeah.
Cool. That's super cool, man. I never realised that even superannuation companies are looking at
your banks and stuff.
footprint.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. I think we're probably getting pretty close to winding things up, and it's been super great.
Yes, it's awesome, mate.
I think if we're going to look at lessons for someone that's thinking about doing something that they're passionate about, not just doing a job because it's a job and it's a way to find an income.
Sure.
What advice would you give someone to maybe follow that path, or to start even thinking about putting things in place to follow something that they love?
It's first things, just to think about what you love, even if it's minute. A lot of people are like, I don't know what I like, I don't know, and then they don't realize they're doing it already. So just like, if sometimes you don't think that's a job, like, it's not a job, and then just keep following what you love doing and see where it takes you and where it evolves. Surround yourself around people, or contact people that do the similar stuff, and just get to know how they do it or what they do, or just even help out. I've helped out in so many projects where I've just wanted to learn, or just get to know that industry, or just to understand it, and it's just like, you love it. They must see you like, profiting on it and so stoked with it, and you do such a good job. They're like, oh, can we hire you next time? Can we use you for this next time? And then you just steam trains, because then you've done these other jobs, and it's like all part of your portfolio, all part of your background. Next minute, you've got, natural history companies going, you'll be highly recommended for this and this. I'm like, you kidding? Like, what do you mean? And it's just because of just helping and working with people, and just get out there and talk to those people or companies or whatever you're interested in, and just try and get immersed in it a bit, and research it and look at it up and think about it or write it down. Just do all these tiny little steps of just surrounding your brain with it, and see where it takes you, because it tends to lead you in ways you didn't even know you did it.
Yeah, and it can enrich your lives in ways that you never would have imagined. And there's the old saying, a door can't open unless another door closes, and even just doing that sometimes, that you just never imagine what could happen by taking a step in that direction that you want to. It's not going to happen until you take that first step.
That's right. Yeah.
And then people, you talk to people and you can see the inspiration in them. You can see just by talking to you, like, what drives you. And when you're talking about what you love, it's there and it's in you, and it's inspiring to see that. Yeah. Which I think everyone should definitely give themselves a chance to experience that in themselves.
Yeah.
For sure.
What have you got to lose?
Exactly. Yeah, I never thought 2 years ago I'd be sitting here doing a podcast, but I just enjoy sharing my experiences, and with running and weight loss, and people are kind of drawn to you to speak to you about it with their experiences and how much they love it. And you see people and you see friends out and about. Yeah. And that kind of said to me, like, I definitely wanted to share my experiences somehow, whether it be a store or, going down the running coach path, which I'm looking at as well. Yeah. And I was like, man, I need to share these experiences, and these conversations are so great.
They're great, mate. And I love talking to you about that stuff, even if it's like something I don't do, but I just love seeing people glow when they talk about things they love. And it's really intriguing and interesting, and it makes you like want to go there. Like,
and that's the ultimate reward in the end, really. I mean, yes, it's great to have a financial backing, I guess, on the side, but the thing that really lights you up is when someone speaks to you and they're lit up, and that you've had a part to play in that. Yeah. That's the reward in itself, and that's the confirmation that you're doing the right thing. If you're ever doubting following that ambition or following that love or passion, seeing how other people are lit up and inspired by what you do is enough. It's definitely
it is. It bounces off it big time.
Absolutely,
it's really cool. I'll have to do a run with you. You have to get me over the range.
Absolutely.
something that
I
would
mean,
be
you're pretty.
incredible.
I mean, you're fit doing what you do, and you've always been a super fit guy, and it's inspiring to see that. And I've got no doubt that would help with
Oh, it's
the grueling
amazing.
hours that you
Yeah,
spend out there.
that's it. Like also talking about healthy environment, yeah, to have a healthy body as well. Like it's all that mind, body, soul stuff. It's like it's amazing. Like I just went and trained at a local gym here called Jaws, and it's so cool. It's Jaws Fight Club. It's like such a happy family there, and we just did strength and conditioning this morning from 6 till 7. There's like 10 of us, and it's so good. It's like everyone's so pumped and like from all different fitness levels, and we're sweating and we're groaning, and it's like, you know what I mean, you're just doing your best you can, and you come out and you feel so good, and it just starts your day off like a rocket. And it's just these endorphins, and it's just like it just goes in balance with your life, like a healthy lifestyle, and you got healthy work, and it just everything just thrives. It just goes and goes stronger, you know. It's just
Yeah,
crazy how combined all that stuff is between healthy living, healthy lifestyle, eating right, being good to the environment, being good to yourself, like doing stuff you love. Like super lucky.
it's all positive stuff,
It
isn't it? And it
is.
just positivity breeds more positivity.
Yeah.
And yeah, you respect your environment, you respect what you do, and yeah, you respect yourself as well, which is
Yeah.
it always just in my experiences it just seems to go hand in hand. That's just
Yeah.
a great package of everything that you're giving yourself. So
Yeah. Grab it and
it's
run with
awesome,
it.
man. Well, hey, I just once again just want to thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. No
I know
worries.
you're probably waiting to go hiding or something.
I can see the trees in the background starting to laugh out a bit. Like, oh, wind's
The weather's
dropping.
pretty nice, and
Nah, there's
you
a
know,
bit of swell coming today, so
it's pretty awesome, man. I really appreciate it. Taking the time to speak with me, to come onto the show,
yeah,
and sharing your experiences, man. It's super great. I mean, we always have great conversations, and I'm really
yeah,
grateful of our friendship.
yeah. It's great.
And it's just even better now that I can share that with everyone, hopefully. So, yeah, thanks
No,
very much
thanks so
again, man.
much. As in like what you're doing is awesome, buddy, and I love it. So keep going.
Well, thanks as well, guys. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want any more information and links, I'm going to try and put together some show notes to go with this episode. So just have a look in wherever you get your podcast from. There'll either be details or notes or something like that to look at, and you'll be able to find a bit more info, which I'll write down to go with the show. If you want to see some of Andre's amazing work, you can find him on Instagram at Andre Rerekura Creative.
Yeah,
You'll be able to see what he does, and also the work that he does with Terra Australis. They're also on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep. Yep.
Cool. And also, yeah, don't forget to subscribe and check us out on Instagram as well at the Inner Expeditions Podcast. Please feel free to leave some comments on any of our posts and pages, and let us know what you want to hear more of, and if you liked whatever we've put out there so far. And also, yeah, if you are on iTunes, we're now on iTunes and Spotify. Make sure you give us a follow or subscribe. If you want to hear more, you'll get updates on new episodes and what's coming your way. Otherwise, yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for tuning in. I hope you really enjoyed listening, and I hope that every time you tune in to listen, you get something out of the episode. It really gives us a lot of happiness to hopefully think that we're putting stuff out there that's not only worth listening to, but something that you can get something out of to put into what you do on your daily. So thanks very much, everyone, for tuning in again. Yeah, really look forward to speaking to you again next time. Bye for now.